Today we're going to be talking about matchups that need to be made next after the Bivol versus Beterbiev card. Now, you might be wondering why the quality's a bit different or the sound's a bit different. My PC's currently in getting fixed and I want to keep the upload streak going, so we're using an iPhone. Starting off with the main event, Bivol versus Beterbiev, one of the best fights I've seen in a very long time. One of the closest fights I've seen in a very long time. After the fight got announced that Beterbiev was the winner, a lot of people were claiming that Bivol had been robbed. Now, in the days since that, I've seen a lot more people actually saying Beterbiev was the rightful winner. After I watched it, I thought it could have been scored a draw. It was really, really close. Arguably, it kind of comes down to what you prefer the most. Bivol, in my opinion, was landing the better shots out of the two when he threw, but that was the problem. It was very few and far between. I thought when Bivol did throw a flurry of strikes, he did do the better work, but it just wasn't as consistent as what Beterbiev was doing. Also, I think you have to factor in ring generalship. Now, that can mean a multitude of different things, but in my opinion, the fact that Beterbiev was constantly on the front foot, pushing Bivol back, I think that does have to play a part in how you're scoring the fight. Also, the fact that Beterbiev did throw more shots in there. Now, a lot of people were complaining, saying, but those shots hit the guard and blah, blah, blah. And I do understand that point, but shots that hit the guard are still effective in a way as well. But overall, great fight. I think we need to see the rematch. It's the only thing that makes sense. And I hope it is for Undisputed, because this is the thing that happens when all the belts come together. You get one Undisputed fight, and then after a week later, they get one belt taken off them because boxing is just so shit that way. That needs to be changed. Now we have an Undisputed light heavyweight champion. The government body should look to have one face, one name for every division. Obviously, that financially doesn't help them because you have to pay one of the government bodies, all of them, sorry, a fee if you hold their belt, which is just insane in my opinion. What I think is they should keep this Undisputed championship on Beterbiev and then make the rematch for Undisputed again. I think that the government body should look to do this for every single division, even though they won't. Now, I did pick Beterbiev to win this one, but I'm going to pick Bivol to win the rematch. I think there's a lot of things that Bivol can look at in that fight and improve on. Mainly his output. When he let his shots go, he was effective and he was landing. And I feel like he will really make the improvements and will come back better in the rematch. Next up, Fabio Wardley. I'm not going to be going through every single fighter on the card, just a select few. Fabio Wardley coming off an amazing win against Fraser Clark. Honestly, one of the most brutal KOs I've ever seen. It genuinely looked like Fraser Clark took a stroke in there. No joke. The guy's face looked like it was drooping to one side. It was just a vicious knockout. Now, I had picked Fraser Clark to win the rematch. Their first fight was a war, an absolute classic. One of the best fights I've seen, honestly, ever. It was unbelievable. But I thought Fraser Clark would have definitely have won that matchup, the rematch, because I thought he showed that he was clearly the better boxer in the original match. And what really affected him was his gas tank. And I thought he would have really improved on that going into the rematch. Now, he might have. We don't know. Fabio Wardley just went in there guns blazing and put the guy out early. So we actually don't know, did he improve on his cardio or his gas tank? We don't know. We didn't get a chance to see. But Fabio Wardley has definitely exceeded the British scene now. And I feel like this guy needs to go on to some of the big names at world level. Now, this guy might not be world level. It's up to you whether you think he is or not. But I think Drell Miller, Big Beauty Miller, would be the perfect fight for Fabio Wardley next. I've seen a lot of people saying Jared Anderson. I don't think he'll take that matchup after that Bacoli loss, to be honest. Because if he loses again, and there's a very high chance that he could, Fabio Wardley is a big, big puncher in there. I feel like he's in no man's land at that point. But I think Drell, Big Baby Miller, Riyadh season clearly like him. They've had him on two cards. Obviously, he lost to Daniel Dubois, but there's no shame in that. Look at what that guy's went on to do. He beat AJ. He's now the IBF champion, so there's no shame in that. He then fought Andy Ruiz on the best Riyadh season card, in my opinion, which was the LA card. Although I feel like he beat Andy Ruiz in there, but it was a draw. The guy was robbed, in my opinion, anyway. So I think you do Fabio Wardley versus Drell Miller. Drell Miller is a big name in the heavyweight scene. He can talk a big game, build a lot of hype. Fabio Wardley, big puncher. Yes, Drell Miller is a bit bigger than him, but it will be good to see Drell Miller push Fabio Wardley into the later stages of the fight, just to see. We know the guy is a warrior. Look at his first fight against Fraser Clark, but I think this will just be a really fun matchup to see, and I think Fabio Wardley can really impress the boxing world again by finishing Drell Big Baby Miller. I think he has the power, and I've just spat everywhere. Ignore that. Next up, we have got Chris Eubank Jr. It's obvious what he's going to be doing. That's Conor Benn. I don't want to waste too much time on that. It's going to be a massive fight. I hope it happens in the UK. I feel like with all the history and the family involved, it has to happen in the UK. I cannot wait to see that rematch. And it seems like Turki Al-Sheikh, not that rematch, that fight. And it seems like Turki Al-Sheikh wants to make that fight next. So hopefully Conor Benn can get his shit sorted and that fight happens next. Next up, we've got Jai Opetaia, the best cruiserweight in the division right now, in my opinion. What's next for him is fairly obvious. Chris Smith is fighting Ramirez on a Saudi card. Whoever wins that unification fight has to fight Jai Opetaia next. I think that's the only matchup that makes sense for the guy next. And try and, again, get an undisputed cruiserweight champion. That should be the route that everyone should want to happen in boxing. We need one face, one name for every division. I think Jai Opetaia wins against whoever, to be honest. It doesn't matter. I think he's clearly the best. Finally, one other fight that I want to talk about. Ben Whitaker, obviously we know what happened with that guy. Him and Liam Cameron went Batista, John Cena mode in there. Just make the rematch. It wasn't a good look for Ben Whitaker, to be honest, but let's just make the rematch. Let's see if Ben Whitaker, can right that wrong. Let's see what happens. So yeah, those are the matchups I want to see. The Bivol Beterbiev rematch. I want to see Drell Miller versus Fabio Wardley. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. Jai Opetaia unifying the division some way, either if that's with Chris Smith or Ramirez. And I want to see Ben Whitaker run it back with Liam Cameron. Let me know your opinions in the comments below. And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you again in the next one.